Hi everyone. You might be wondering, why am I sitting on the floor of my hotel room in a trench coat? And the answer is I physically couldn't find anywhere to set up the camera. And also I only had a trench coat. And so I'm doing both of those things, and I'll be on the ground for this entire video. But anyway, listen up if you are curious about the coworker ecosystem. I'm actually on a work trip in New York, hence the hotel room. We're going to a bunch of offices of a lot of our brand partners and just kind of observing from the outside every individual corporate culture. And we took some time to whiteboard, I'll say, to keep it super corporate, the different archetypes of people in the corporate space, the different types of workers, the different types of personalities. And I've come to the conclusion that every single person fits into one of these. And I'm going to share each of these personas with you. And I think if you're watching this and thinking, I don't fit into that, that's good. But maybe there's also a problem, because you should be known for something in the office, and feel free to comment which one you identify with most. And if I missed any, also let me know. So I'm gonna start with the type A, the overachiever. We all know her. This was actually me at my corporate job at Deloitte. I went to the senior manager my second week and I said, how can I get an early promotion? They're like, this is Deloitte.
You're gonna get promoted after 2 years. Why don't you shut your mouth?
This person has a spreadsheet for the spreadsheet. They're sending urgent emails at 6:02 a.m. They probably own a label maker. Okay, we all know her. The next is, of course, the inverse of that, the type B. My type B coworker videos go viral every single time. This is the person that shows up at 10:03 with an iced coffee and doesn't give a flying. They're like, I'm good. I'm bringing the good vibes. I forgot my key card. My laptop's at 12% and I don't have a charger. Oh, we have to book flights for the company offsite? Shoot. Did anyone do that for me? The plane looks a little full.
Who cares? Who cares?
And they'll somehow get there via parachute. It always works out for them. And I personally envy them. But if you're a type B person, I'm impressed. I'm impressed how you remain employed. I'm impressed how you get all your work done. And you just don't make work your entire personality. And maybe I'm just a little bit jealous of that. Next is the rest invest person. This happens a lot in the tech community. So if you're not a part of the tech world, this might not resonate with you, but the person who's just sitting on a lump of equity and is not trying or applying themselves at all. And there's no shame in this. If I had a massive amount of equity and didn't have to do any work and the company was big enough where I could just kind of coast, I would surely do the same. In the show Silicon Valley, they're the guys who sit on the roof because no one knows that they're there at Hooli, the Google company that they made. It's kind of a joke. So if this is you, congrats. Hold on to that equity for as long as you can. Maybe diversify it if it's your entire income, but overall, good for you. Next is the C-suite. If you've made it there, congrats. These are the sort of invisible overlords of the company that you never see. They're there, but you'll never see them. They're traveling. They're doing an offsite in Mykonos or Jackson Hole. They're at their 10-bedroom home in Aspen, ski in, ski out, super busy and having all the power and the keys to the castle. The castle being quite literally the castle that they're able to afford. Pro tip on the C-suite, you never see them. You think they're not there. And then when you least expect it and you show up late or you're at your absolute worst, they're in the elevator with you. So always be prepared and know who you're sitting around and try to keep tabs on them. If they have a visible calendar, they're visibly making an appearance at a conference, make sure you know so that just in case you're ready. And then they say, oh, that Natalie girl. Yeah, I met her in the elevator. She was great. That's the dream.
That's the dream. The dream.
I've talked about my personal example of interfacing with the CEO at Palo Alto Networks, the company that I worked at after Deloitte. He was great. He asked me to join a Zoom and basically I thought I was getting fired and he said, we want to promote you and move you into marketing. So not all C-suite are scary, bad, and evil. Next is the remote worker. If you have the luxury of working remote or even hybrid now, because this is so rare these days, lucky you, you can keep your camera off. You can do a load of laundry in between calls. You can do all the stuff that OG corporate Natalie back in 2020 was making fun of that now we're like not allowed to talk about because we're either all doing it or we don't want our company to know we're doing it. We have the intern. They're just there to watch YouTube all day. They're getting into kind of Gen Alpha territory where I can't even communicate with them at all. They think I'm unk. They're eager. They're excited to learn and no one will give them a task because that would be too much work and time to train them. So they sadly sit through their entire internship doing nothing and then likely get a full-time offer, which is fine and good for them. I think when I was an intern, I was like, please feed me. I want to learn something. And no one did. And I was just like, okay, that's great. Thanks for the return offer, Deloitte. The OG or the OGs, these are the people who have been there forever. The guys that say, well, back in 05, we did things a little differently. And they're the guys who don't want to change anything. Any sort of innovation or newness is the enemy to the OGs. And you will never fit in or truly know the lore of what they've been through because what they had and how they did it was just better in every single way. If you're an OG, try to hide it so that you don't make it known that you're that guy. Because having tenor and stuff is cool, but broadcasting it to the entire world is uncool and gets into unk territory, as the Gen Z interns will call me. Okay, this is kind of a TikTok trope, the girl dad. This is the best manager ever, especially for a woman who was working in corporate at the time. They show up to meetings with random parenting anecdotes. They'll throw in a quote here and there about, effort and resilience and showing up for others. They somehow relate everything back to their kids, but everyone just like loves them for it. Then we have the side hustler. One of my mentors at my old company said, Natalie, just because this is your 9 to 5 doesn't mean it needs to be your 5 to 9. And he was just a chronic side hustler, which I had nothing but respect for. He's like, look, if the company's not going to pay me more, I'm going to make more on the side. And that's how I started Corporate Natalie as my side hustle. And I now get to do it full time. So I think I cannot commend the side hustler more. The only piece of advice I give is don't shout it from the rooftops. You don't actually want people to know you're a side hustler, because then they start looking at you funny and like, how are you using your time? Are you sure you're focusing on your job, or are you just making silly little videos? Keep it to yourself. Do that side hustle. Make that bag. We then have the class clown, the personality hire. I think personality hire holds kind of a negative connotation these days, but I was kind of the class clown of my entire, educational upbringing. But they're the integrator. They're bringing everyone together. They're telling all the jokes. You're wondering how they get work done or if they get work done, but you love them for it. They can leave at 3 and everyone be like, Bill, see ya, have a good weekend. No one's asking questions. They're like, thanks for the jokes. Thanks for the belly laughs. Why don't you get on out of here? You're not here for your work, and that's okay. The micromanager, if you're a type A, you might fall into this a little bit when you start people managing. You need to review every single thing that comes across your desk or is an output of your team broadly. You have no trust or faith in anyone, which is a horrible managerial quality. And you wake up chewing glass every morning, just holding life so tightly by the reins. My advice to the micromanager is just allow people to fail. Sometimes they won't fail, and you just haven't given them the opportunity to fly and make your life easier. We then have the operator, which there are a lot of operators in companies. These are the people who are actually doing work, okay? They're getting stuff done. They show up, they get their work done, and they leave. They're operating, and we love them for it. The last corporate persona is the person who thinks they're the boss. And they're talking like, oh, yeah, you know what, Chris, why don't you take that and I will continue to review the notes from the call. It's like, okay, why are you delegating? You're not my boss, and shut the hell up. They're overconfident. They love sending action items, and they might get the promotion just because the manager above them forgot that they weren't actually in that title already. There are pros and cons to all of these personas, and I'm sure there are a ton that I did not hit. If you have any personas that I didn't make, please comment them below, and I'll hopefully make a part 2 of this video. Welcome to the corporate world, everyone. It is a crazy world out there, and be sure to smash that subscribe button.